Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 42, Acknowledging a Mentor and the Difference in Treatment. I didn't think Natsume-sensei would trust me like this. I'm truly honored. I really hope my luck can work this time, that I can pick the one book that will have the desired effect. So, when should I start? Today. Natsume Soseki looked at Komaeda Nagito, who seemed even more eager than himself, and couldn't help but fall silent for a moment. Wait a moment. We're starting right away. With only one comment, he easily decided to bait the Russian person who had manipulated things behind the scenes during the Dragon's Head conflict last year. Only now did Natsume Soseki finally realize that something was amiss. Is there nothing you want to ask? Natsume Soseki couldn't help but ask. Komaeda Nagito curiously asked back, ask about what? Natsume Soseki was speechless for a few seconds, then reminded him with a bit of preschool teacher patience, you currently have resources that others do not, so you have the right to make a few requests. From the very beginning, when Natsume Soseki interacted with Komaeda Nagito, he noticed that because of the striking way this child spoke, it was quite easy for him to confuse others and then lead the pace astray. After realizing this point in time, Natsume Soseki had been paying particular attention to it, but it was clear that he needed something from someone, and the person he sought, Komaeda Nagito, seemed to be in a posture of, nothing to hide, any request will be granted. This kind of attitude was really too easy to mislead others. Even Natsume Soseki unknowingly discarded his earlier, take it slow, idea, and by the time he regained his senses, they had already skipped a few steps, jumping to the current situation. Natsume Soseki regained his composure somewhat. He was certainly at fault, but Komaeda Nagito had an even bigger problem. He always gave off a vibe of, come take advantage of me, use me as you like, I won't resist. This was too dangerous. This time, it was him. Who knows who it would be next time? How could he, even if he represented the government's stance, actually bring danger to Komaeda Nagito? This kid looks very smart, so why didn't he ask a few more questions? It can't be that he didn't consider this, right? I don't have any demands. Faced with Natsume Soseki's reminder, Komaeda Nagito smiled unchanged. Even someone as useless as me can help Natsume-sensei, it's really like a dream come true to have such a good opportunity. How could I still be so shameless as to make demands? Natsume Soseki. He couldn't help but look again at Komaeda Nagito's information. Clearly, aside from his incredible luck, Komaeda Nagito was excellent in every aspect, so why would he end up with such a self-deprecating personality? As expected, the problems in another world are too overwhelming. But his hands couldn't reach that far, so he could only focus on what was right in front of him, preventing things from getting worse and worse. Thus, Natsume Soseki took a deep breath, ignored the parts where Komaeda Nagito's attitude had skipped over steps, and continued patiently guiding him. Even though I will definitely protect you well, your previous writing style and personal thoughts are absolutely different from that of the Dostoevsky in another world, and your age is exactly your best cover, so it's unlikely that the investigation will lead to you. But there's always that 1 in a million chance, and if that chance turns real, the danger on you will be 100%. Are you sure you've thought it through? It's still not too late to regret now. What he wants Komaeda Nagito to do wasn't the kind of easy copying a book and achieve glory. It was an open conspiracy. An open conspiracy is when the other party knows there's a trap but still jumps into it. By then, it's a competition of both sides' calculations and depth. The key point is to make the other party interested. As long as this succeeds, the details don't matter. Once the other party starts investigating, it's equivalent to falling into a trap. In this plan, Komaeda Nagito not only doesn't gain any honor but also might end up in danger. Agreeing so easily basically means he's not being responsible for himself. But this child not caring about his own life is also very obvious. Natsume Soseki was quite worried. He kept feeling that maybe even without the Russian investigating Komaeda Nagito, he would already be courting death himself. I understand Natsume-sensei's concerns, Komaeda Nagito said. Perhaps you cannot comprehend it, but I am also not worried about danger. Natsume Soseki continued, because for you, misfortune later turns into good fortune, so you're waiting for misfortune as if it were good fortune, aren't you? Komaeda Nagito stared intently at Natsume Soseki, the intensity of his gaze almost making the person being looked at feel like they were being ignited. You can actually understand? As expected of Natsume-sensei. Don't think about it, Natsume Soseki said weakly. From my point of view, there's no way we'll let you meet Dostoevsky. You need to value yourself more. I will make sure to protect you. The intel in Komaeda Nagito's mind, if he could use it, naturally it could also be used by the enemy. He didn't even plan to tell the government, and the only person to know is himself, Komaeda Nagito, along with possibly someone like Dazai Osamu who might guess something. Don't talk about the government sending people to protect. How could he not understand their intentions? As long as this is known to the government, their first reaction would definitely be to protect Komaeda Nagito. First of all, to protect someone who on the surface appears to have no connection to the government is pointless. Even secretly protecting is not really protection. If someone with ill intentions wants to investigate, the slightest hint from within could lead to exposure. This essentially makes it clear that this child has problems. Next, the government will absolutely find a way to completely extract Komaeda Nagito's memories, whether through hypnosis or abilities, whatever is possible. Once Komaeda Nagito loses his value, they will probably even feel that the person's existence isn't safe enough and so on. Although it might not go as far as directly killing him, living a whole life under surveillance is a real possibility. Natsume Soseki would never let the child who helps him fall into such a situation. He couldn't write the novel himself. In this world, the only one who had read Dostoevsky's novels from another world was probably Komaeda Nagito. Otherwise, he would have definitely done it himself if he could. But it wasn't as if he could do nothing. With him standing in front, those who wanted to investigate the authors behind these books would restrain themselves a bit. The greater good is more important than individual benefits, but it hasn't come to the point where anyone needs to be sacrificed yet. If both sides can be preserved, of course, everyone would want that. Komaeda Nagito heard that he might not be able to meet Dostoevsky, and couldn't help but reveal a look of regret. Actually, it really doesn't matter to me. Just look at the fate of the people who have kidnapped me. Although the process may not necessarily be the same, I feel that I won't die because of something like this. No, this is my responsibility. Natsume Soseki looked at Komaeda Nagito, who had such a unique personality and was difficult to predict. He moved his fingers around his cane a little, and said thoughtfully. I have a suggestion. Komaeda-kun, are you willing to become my student? This child, although seemingly quite ordinary at first glance, he could see through it. Even if he gave Komaeda Nagito his contact information, due to his involvement leading to Komaeda Nagito being in danger, Komaeda Nagito would surely not contact him. If there could be a deeper, more intimate relationship beyond the one of using and being used, perhaps it could improve this lone wolf's way of doing things a little. Who? Komaeda Nagito blinked in surprise. Natsume-sensei wants to take me as a student. That's right, what do you think? It really sounds like a joke. Komaeda Nagito frowned in distress. Someone like me. This old man did not intend to take you as a disciple just to make you cooperate more with the plan. It's unnecessary. Even if it weren't for that, you would still help. This old man can see that. That being said, this old man has lived for more than half a lifetime, and has only accepted 2 disciples, so you should understand that this old man does not easily say such things. Natsume Soseki interrupted Komaeda Nagito's usual self-deprecating behavior. Komaeda-kun, there's no need to belittle yourself. This old man sees your potential. You are not someone unimportant. If you don't believe this, this old man will gradually make you believe it in the future. Komaeda Nagito, even if he possesses the same super memory abilities, it is likely because of the conflicting memories between 2 worlds, causing after effects. Despite having read so many books, he remains the same. There was also the incident where he disguised his own suicide as someone else torturing him to death. Komaeda Nagito's intelligence, drive, and endurance are undoubtedly far above the average person, so calling him useless is simply impossible. His analysis made him feel that Komaeda Nagito was already meeting the standard quite well as a student. It's just that his psychological and mental aspects seem to have major issues. Perhaps that's the very reason he was concerned and had the idea of taking him as a student. Natsume Soseki had previously taken on 2 students, one was Fukuzawa Yukichi, and the other was Mori Ogai. He didn't intentionally attempt to change their personalities, rather, he found that keeping their original state suited his plans better. The primary teaching content also revolved around how to protect Yokohama. As for Komaeda Nagito, although his qualities were adequate, they were not yet remarkable enough for Natsume Soseki to have the intention of taking him as a student. Simply ensuring his personal safety did not seem necessary. Upon careful thought, however, Komaeda Nagito's mental condition was concerning. Natsume Soseki found himself unable to ignore it entirely. He had a lingering feeling that one day this child might be exploited by someone problematic. Komaeda Nagito retracted his smile, gazing at Natsume Soseki with a serious expression. What the other said was genuine, not meant to manipulate for his own gain, but rather genuinely believing that he was worth nurturing. In this world, although there isn't Hope's Peak Academy, receiving Natsume Soseki's approval should be considered a success akin to receiving an acceptance letter from Hope's Peak Academy. No good, no good, no good, no good, he's far too lucky today. What kind of misfortune will he face afterward? Ah. Though his heart was filled with negative words, Komaeda Nagito still fell into a state of elation. I am willing, Natsume-sensei. Natsume Soseki was satisfied with the outcome and sighed in relief. After all, this child always acted in an unconventional way. He revealed a relaxed smile and even had the mood to joke. Now, you truly are my student. Previously, when Komaeda Nagito called him Natsume-sensei, it was merely a respectful title used for intellectuals with social standing. But now, calling him sensei represents a teacher-student relationship. Even Natsume Soseki himself hadn't expected this. Not only had he gained great insight from this trip, but he had also gained a new disciple. Komaeda Nagito, this child. Though not a diamond, he could still be considered a bright pearl covered in dust. If it were a pearl, then his understanding of diamond polishing diamond doesn't quite apply. Too rough and reckless, things could easily go wrong. A pearl ought to be carefully protected, wiping away just a little dust, allowing him to have a correct understanding of himself, thereby letting his own light shine. Though, this pearl, when compared to the diamond and how they clash, it remains uncertain who will end up unlucky. Speaking of this, Natsume Soseki suddenly remembered that one of his disciples, Mori Ogai, seemed quite interested in Komaeda Nagito recently. Thinking it over, he decided to pay attention for now, and if the situation turns unfavorable, then intervene. He may be Mori Ogai's teacher, and Mori Ogai respects him greatly, but mature relationships among adults require maintaining appropriate distance. Since he chose to have Mori Ogai be in charge of the port mafia, he shouldn't interfere too much in Mori Ogai's actions. Considering all aspects, Natsume Soseki gave Komaeda Nagito his contact information that even his other 2 disciples didn't have. There was no helping it, those 2 disciples didn't need him to worry about them at all. Komaeda Nagito memorized the new teacher's phone number and email address, then immediately asked a sharp question. Sensei, can you still answer calls when you turn into a cat? Natsume Soseki hadn't spent time with children this age for a long time, and his other disciples were all focused on serious matters. Seeing this kind of lively thinking, he couldn't help but pause. You don't need to worry about it. Oh, okay. Komaeda Nagito nodded in understanding. By the way, take fewer of those medicines. Natsume Soseki glanced at the scattered items on the table, the painkillers Komaeda had bought earlier to endure the headache caused by recalling Dandanbashi, Ojita, and frowned. I'll prepare some with no side effects for you later. Natsume Soseki mocked himself in his heart. Making the other person not only have to endure a headache but also recall novels was entirely his own doing. Now he's playing the good guy by bringing medicine, truly hypocritical. Just from the perspective of protecting students, he wasn't a qualified teacher at all, and could only make up for it in other ways. In any case, if you encounter something you can't handle or don't know what to do, just contact this old man. Natsume Soseki said, "This old man is now your teacher, and like the saying goes, a teacher for a day, a father for life. Don't confuse me with your school teachers. Before you graduate, it's my responsibility to help you solve your problems, so don't be polite with this old man, do you understand?" Hearing this will make Mori Ogai feel incredibly envious. Don't even talk about seeking help from sensei whenever there's an issue. He and Fukuzawa Yukichi don't even have their teacher's contact information. At least Fukuzawa Yukichi managed to obtain the skilled business permit through Natsume Soseki, whereas he himself had struggled his way from being a regular doctor in the port mafia to where he is now. He had never enjoyed such treatment. It truly felt like the difference between an experimental group and a control group. Komaeda Nagito also didn't know what kind of treatment his senior brothers were getting, and thought that Natsume Soseki was just that good of a teacher, so he obediently replied, "Understood." Natsume Soseki let out a deep sigh. Hopefully, he really understands. He's already at this age, yet still has to take care of a child. Moreover, this child is clearly quite troublesome. Who knows if he can properly find his own way back. Enjoying a peaceful old age seems to be far out of reach. Oh right, becoming this child's teacher, if he's not careful, one day he might also end up paying the price for Komaeda Nagito's luck. How dangerous. But what could he do about it? He couldn't just let it go, and without saying a word, he had already started worrying about what might happen to this child later. Even if it was just taking advantage of this child's situation. After explaining everything clearly, Natsume Soseki transformed into a cat and left through the window. A secret meeting that only heaven, earth, you, and I knew about had come to an end just like that. Since Natsume Soseki didn't allow Komaeda Nagito to take any more painkillers, Komaeda Nagito could only, which avoiding triggering the headache, gradually recalling the parts he truly remembered, which in reality were just the main outline of the story, perhaps with a few character introductions added. Normal people can't possibly remember everything word for word. Komaeda Nagito planned to wait until the painkillers arrived, then trigger his hyperthymesia mode and copy down crime and punishment word by word. Komaeda Nagito actually felt the time pressure because this super memory syndrome form of himself was merely a side effect of the fusion of two world memories, and he didn't know when it would disappear. He was really worried that before he could complete the task assigned by Natsume-sensei, his memory would return to a normal state, and then he really wouldn't be able to help Natsume-sensei anymore. But being able to be taken in as a disciple by Natsume-sensei. Even now, Komaeda Nagito found it a bit unbelievable as he recalled it. His luck often surpassed even his own expectations, and today was truly the luckiest day since he came into this world. Komaeda Nagito, unlike Dazai Osamu at the time, did not ask Natsume Soseki to confirm something like, "Do you know how dangerous it is to have me as your student?" because, in his view, if Natsume Soseki couldn't avoid the danger he brought, it would simply mean that Natsume-sensei was not a worthy hope. He had full faith and expectation in Natsume Soseki. "I will do my best," Komaeda Nagito murmured. "Let me see more hope, give me even more hope, that way I can also become hope." On weekend nights, Komaeda Nagito always returned to Tokyo because it made it more convenient for him to attend school the next day. He checked the rental contract seriously. After school on Monday, he would go see the landlord again to get the contract signed, so he wouldn't have to keep secretly staying in a hotel. Thinking of that hesitant expression of the front desk, wanting to say something but stopping short, wanting to confirm something but hesitating, Komaeda Nagito couldn't help but curse inwardly. Being underage is really inconvenient. When will I finally be an adult? The elevator doors opened, and Komaeda Nagito headed to his room. Just as he was about to swipe his card at the door next to him suddenly opened, but instead of Amuro Toru, two unfamiliar tall men emerged. The one with long silver hair, dressed entirely in black, wearing a wide-brimmed hat, had eyes both dark and sharp. He gave Komaeda Nagito a cold glance, furrowing his brows fiercely. Ah, Jinaniki. Behind him was a more robust-looking man, also dressed in black, wearing sunglasses. He looked like a bodyguard, but his demeanor was unmistakably that of a yakuza. This kid. Alright, let's go. The silver-haired man impatiently interrupted, then turned decisively towards the elevator without hesitation. Komaeda Nagito realized that those two were probably from the same organization where Morofushi Hiromitsu had been undercover. Jin, huh? So, at that time, that guy who claimed to be FBI, called Morofushi Hiromitsu Scotch, meaning Scotch whiskey, right? This organization uses alcohol names for all their titles. So wouldn't that make this organization called the Liquor Factory? Komaeda Nagito, with his mind in a complete mess, speculated while his hands didn't stop moving, swiftly opening the door and stepping inside. Standing inside the elevator, this scene could be seen clearly. After the elevator doors closed, one of the men in black spoke softly. Aniki, that kid is the one Bourbon provided information on. Jin replied indifferently, no need to interfere, he's with the Port Mafia. Port Mafia? The man in black with the codename Vodka was immediately astonished. Yokohama over there? I don't think he looks like he's from the Port Mafia. But he just happened to be living next to Scotch and Bourbon. Is it really not an issue? Nowadays, the age of geniuses is getting lower and lower. Major organizations are all recommending special talents. Age doesn't matter at all. Mainly, his demeanor seems very clean. If you said he was with the police, that would still make sense, but mixed with the underworld. It really doesn't seem right. Could it be good acting skills? That's not impossible either. Humph. Jin let out a cold snort. Bourbon did it on purpose. He added that brat to the list to imply, I've already brought all suspicious individuals to light. If you have doubts, go investigate yourself. As a result, after investigating, they found out that this brat has a really good relationship with the Port Mafia, went on a cruise with the boss of the Port Mafia and Tei Corporation, and even the Port Mafia executives often visit him. Though he probably isn't considered a member of the Port Mafia yet, this process is essentially the recruitment process, so it's likely not much different. Scotch is a member of the Japanese Metropolitan Police Department, and has no relation with the Port Mafia. Although it may be a coincidence, this brat was indeed the first to settle into this room. Besides, the reason for moving that pile of stuff is also quite easy to investigate. There's no way the Japanese police, before anything else, would have already known that Scotch would be exposed, and then start planning together with the Port Mafia, right? If the police were that capable, how could their organization develop to this level in Japan? But Vodka was still troubled. Jin lit a cigarette. Moreover, it's too obvious. Vodka was stunned and suddenly understood. Right, it's too much of a coincidence, making people suspicious at first glance, but then reducing suspicion afterwards. Although thinking in the opposite direction is really effective, so many coincidences aren't just due to mere human intervention, it's clearly also a coincidence. From the intel they gathered, that little brat went up to the rooftop once and then quickly went downstairs to leave. This action might seem overly suspicious, but instead makes people feel indifferent. If he were actually involved in something, wouldn't it be better to act normal, slowly sign the rental contract, and then leave? It was probably because he witnessed the execution of that traitor. Anyway, it's just the execution of a traitor, not some highly confidential secret. If that little brat is a member of the Port Mafia, there's no need to silence him, needlessly provoking an enemy. I understand, as expected of Aniki. Vodka said, so, is Scotch really dead? No suspicious points found, for now, let's consider him dead, Jin said with a cold smile. But I feel like there's still something off here. Right, investigate him again later. Yes, Aniki. Komaeda Nagito, as usual, entered the room, not even knowing exactly what kinds of covert investigations those around him had undergone, or what exchanges Amuro Toru and Dazai Osamu had about him, before putting down his luggage. Just as he was about to tidy up a bit, a phone call suddenly came in. Komaeda-senpai. Kudo Shinichi said over the phone, "There's something I have to tell you. That landlord's grandpa is in a coma and hospitalized." Komai de Nagi to. Chapter 42 End.